A pleasure.
Okay, we're going live now, just so you know. Very good timing.
And people will start joining now.
Okay.
Sağlar.
Agnew, could you just mute anyone who's not speaking, please?
Of course.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We are just letting the panel load up. Quite a few people to enter. We've had over 100 people sign up for this. Just to say you're in the right place. This is the Iraq-Britain Business Council's introduction to doing business in Iraq in conjunction with the British Chambers of Commerce Turkey. So we'll just be a couple of minutes while everybody loads up. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Still loading up.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Okay, everybody, I think we're getting near to the moment of starting. And would like to say hello, I'm Ashley Goodall. I work for the Iraq-Britain Business Council, and I'm going to be hosting today's panel session on doing business in Iraq. And we're very pleased to be working with Chris Gaunt of the British Chamber of Commerce Turkey, and very much appreciate that. So thank you very much, Chris. We have a number of speakers today. We'll be looking from Pilgrims on security. We're hearing from Jon Wilks, our former ambassador, on the geopolitical overview. We'll be hearing from Jamil Choker, who is Chief Exec of SC Bank. Also Dima and Ayman Abu Naim of NBI Bank, Ahmed Alderi of Management Partners, and David Tanuji of M-Select. So we're going to have a series of relatively quick presentations to give you a good flavor of what's going on in Iraq and the kind of positive environment we have there. Just to say, if Chris Gaunt is here. Chris, hello. Are you online?
There we go. Right. You keep muting me.
Sorry, Chris. Hello, Chris. Thank you very much for having us today. And just to introduce you as the chair and OBE of, it says here since 1887, but I think that's probably just the business rather than you personally in place.
Well, my joke is that I actually was there, but never mind. Yeah, the grey hair speaks for itself. Anyway, good to be here and good to meet you all. Pleased to be associated with your group in Iraq and the UK connections that we're building up through the region. It's an area I know pretty well. Having worked for Coca-Cola for a large number of years. Iraq was a country I was responsible for, and this goes back to the early 2000s. We were setting up our operations there. We were working with an organization, Albunia. I don't know whether anybody's familiar with that that company. And they were actually one of our shareholders at the time. I'm not sure whether they still are, because I've been retired now from Coca-Cola since 2011. So the British Chamber of Commerce in Turkey, as Ashley has said, we were established in 1887, so we do go back a long time. We're very active both in Turkey and in the region, and we have a substantial membership. And as you're probably aware, a lot of Turkish companies have business interests in Iraq, and that is growing. I mean, from some of our members, they actually have interests in Iraq as well. And we also work with the consulate and the embassy here in Turkey, and we've got certain contacts with Turkish construction companies who are very active again in the region and also in Iraq. supported by UKEF, the UK Export Finance Agency, and so we've got a good understanding of the relationship between Turkey and Iraq, and obviously if we can be of help and support using our networks, we'd be more than happy to do that. And from what I hear, Iraq's doing quite well economically, attracting investment. Hopefully more investment from UK than anywhere else. We like to keep our market share high. And if we can be a facilitator in that, then we're very happy to do so. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I just look forward to a very interesting discussion over the next hour or so. As I say, we can help in many ways, and hopefully we can bring them into play as things develop in Iraq through Ashley and the BBC. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm here and available.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to all your team who've helped facilitate this. Also, just to bear in mind, we have a number of our members who may, of course, be interested in Turkey, so we know where to go now. So thank you very much for that. Moving on, I'd like to introduce Robin Stellick, who is from Pilgrims, a security company. Robin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Well, good afternoon, everyone. A quick introduction from my side. My name is indeed Robin Stellick, and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Pilgrims Risk Management Group. We're based in the UK, we're about 20 minutes outside of London, and we've got offices in the US, Nigeria, Eastern Europe, and more specifically for this call, offices in Baghdad and Erbil. A very, very high-level overview of what we do, and then I'll jump into the content. Pilgrims is a security company specializing in secure journey management, guarding of premises, risk assessments, risk mitigation, and we also specialize in software, which enables us and our customers to operate all over the world in a secure and financially competent way. We built on special forces background, and we're very, very proud of what we've been doing over the last 27 years. For about 20 years, we've been operating on the ground in Iraq. And we are very proud of the fact that over the last 27 years, we have a 100% safety record. And this is down to us dealing in facts, dealing in intelligence, and risk mitigation, and not hypotheticals. Having traveled to Iraq very recently, I can tell you that I believe that the narrative surrounding Iraq is often stuck in the past. And today, I'm here to discuss the opportunity. It's an opportunity created by significant measurable stability, and the government committed to infrastructure and economic modernization is allowing that opportunity to exist. So folks on the call who are in banking, in construction, or essential services, this is a call to try and look beyond those negative headlines. Our thesis is simple. Iraq has shifted from a state of existential crisis to a nation managing residual localized risk. And that distinction is going to be the key to anyone's investment returns, including ours. We are seeing that the security baseline in Iraq today is fundamentally different from a decade ago. We acknowledge, obviously, that risk still persists. That said, no emerging market is risk-free, but the nature of that risk in sunny Iraq has changed entirely. Firstly, the territorial threat from ISIS has been dismantled. The Iraqi security forces, coupled with regional stabilization forces, have solidified control across key economic corridors, securing the oil infrastructure and major population centers. There are, of course, sporadic attacks, which are not typically limited to remote desert pockets or specific political flashpoints, making them much more predictable and manageable with the right intelligence. I need to give you some examples here. We issue daily reports to our customers detailing out all the latest security news, where our customers can see exactly what's happening in the last 24 hours with regards to any security situation. These details range from local announcements to civil unrest to crime, any hazards, military operations, which are all covered in the relevant detail. And these ultimately enable our customers to have peace of mind that any security eventuality has been covered. Secondly, in that analysis, we're seeing, or I'm seeing, the political process, despite its complexities, is stabilizing. I know there are lots of different viewpoints here. I can only tell you what I'm seeing, and a bit of intel that I've got in front of me, that we are seeing that the focus is shifting away from power struggles to service delivery and actual infrastructure investment. And this transition is bringing a great incentive for all political actors to, first of all, maintain a calm and conducive environment for foreign capital. And secondly, this stability is further underpinning the actual economic reforms that we're seeing. Where does this stability actually lead you, the folks on this call? I personally, and you would think I would say this, but I personally think this leads to immense commercial potential. Iraq is undergoing a major infrastructural renaissance. Big words, I know, backed by substantial oil revenue. Everybody knows that. But I would also add that Iraq needs to rapidly modernize its non-oil sectors. So, for example, banking modernization. We are directly seeing a huge opportunity for banks to provide essential liquidity, trade finance, and technology integration as Iraq moves into a more modern digital payment system. This includes massive projects in card issuance and digital wallet technology. We ourselves are using that digital wallet technology, so I speak from 100% experience. Secondly, the infrastructure and the logistics. Again, massive projects are underway, from the Gulf ports of Basra to the energy grid expansions and transport routes. And then thirdly, from an energy transition and diversification perspective, again, whilst everyone knows that oil is king, Iraq is investing heavily in capturing associated gas, transitioning power grids, and exploring renewable energy solutions. So I guess with all of this said, and I know I've only got 5 minutes here, we have to be realistic as well. Iraq is a complex operating environment. We are not, I'm not selling risk avoidance. We are providing risk mitigation. So it's important to add that the residual risks remain. The bureaucratic friction, the geopolitical tensions that flare up are within the region. But I can say that we believe the risk-reward ratio in Iraq today is the most favorable it has been in over 2 decades. We provide the expertise to turn that potential risk into manageable and profitable opportunities. We have got lots of customers that we're proving this capability to, and have been over the last 20 years. And lastly, I will be back in the beautiful cities of Baghdad and Erbil this December. So let me know if you're in town, and we can meet over a kahwa, coffee, or perhaps even a beer if you're so inclined. Thank you very much.
Robin, thank you so much. That was just terrific. Just to say, everybody, we're going to have some questions and answers at the end, if that's okay. Robin, however, may have to slip off. But in general, if we could hold your questions to the end or pop them in the chat, that'd be very good news. Now, over to Jonathan Wilks, who is our former ambassador in Iraq and many other places, and is now a member of our advisory council and also a senior executive at the Atlantic Council. John, look forward to hearing your overview. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley, and thanks, Robin. I very much share your view that Iraq is a better prospect now than it has been for many decades, going back beyond 2003. Even I think you've laid out the positive case extremely well. I don't disagree with any of that. So when I left Iraq, I went to Qatar as ambassador, and then I left the diplomatic service, and now I work as a consultant in the region, including with the Iraq Britain Business Council. And I'm on the ground in Iraq every couple of months. So I was there last week. So what I'll maybe do is just report in on where the politics is, and also the geopolitics and some of the risks that are being managed by the political elites. But before I do that, I would just underline what Robin said. Iraq is now basically a stable country with localized issues. It is, in the last couple of years, visibly undergoing accelerated reconstruction. And there is, I think, a determination among the political elites now to deliver more of the potential of the Iraqi economy. And they need to do that for the survival of the political system. This is about jobs, this is about opportunities, this is about hope for the rapidly growing Iraqi population and its youth. Now, there is a particular challenge around oil prices at the moment, which for Iraq are quite, they lead to pressure because there is a huge wage bill to pay. So we are going to go through a bottleneck. But there are plans to raise oil production. There are plans for reform, and reform only happens in this part of the world when the oil price is low and the pressure is on. So anybody looking at projects in Iraq also needs to think about financing and the support of export finance as well. We know for the UK that the UK export finance offer is a very important part of the UK-Iraq trade and investment relationship. Just on to conclusions from a visit last week on the politics. So the elections happened in good order. The Iraqis are getting used to holding elections. Nobody would claim they were perfect, but they are real. The political forces rebalance according to the votes, although the major parties did pretty well as expected. There is a great tradition since 2010 that the person who comes first in an election generally doesn't become prime minister, because the second, third, fourth and fifth all tend to form an alliance to choose the candidate, and whoever comes first very often faces an uphill task to stay in the running. That is exactly what has happened this time. The sitting Prime Minister, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, came first in the elections, but the parties that came behind him have formed an alliance, and they have grabbed the reins of the situation, and they are determined to choose the next Prime Minister, and the odds are right now that it won't be Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, but the record he established of being somebody who delivered infrastructure projects, who to an extent improved services, and to an extent encouraged the diversification of the economy. They want somebody in that mold, probably somebody who will be, if you like, implementing a strategy agreed by the major political parties behind the scene. So I was talking to somebody in Baghdad today, and I was saying, what's the absolute latest? Have we got an idea? Is a name coming forward? I'm not sure there is, but they will be interviewing potential candidates who have this ability to deliver on services and reconstruction. The good news for us supporting business in Iraq is that we are unlikely to see any diminution or deceleration in reconstruction efforts and service delivery. And therefore, even with this slight bottleneck around smaller oil prices, I think the next period of government, 4 years or so, is actually looking pretty promising for business. The second big issue that affects business prospects in Iraq is geopolitics. Will Iraq get dragged into conflict? They've managed pretty well what is really the prime issue for them, which is to keep the Iranians and the US on side and not to end up in the middle of a confrontation between them, or between Israel and Iran, happening on Iraqi territory. I think it's very much in the minds of the political leadership that will choose the next prime minister. They have to have somebody who is trusted by Iran, but will also be able to sit with Donald Trump in the White House and build the relationship with the US. So I think we can be fairly confident that they will manage geopolitics in a way that won't get in the way of Iraq's further economic recovery. Now, what has happened again recently, and this is a sign that not all is sunshine in Iraq, is we've had the repeat of something that happened last year, which is a drone strike on gas fields in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. It is not absolutely clear who is behind this and the motivation behind it. The initial assumption of most people, though, is that this is by the Hashd al-Sha'bi, the Popular Mobilization Forces, who operate in part outside of the control of the state. This will be the big issue in terms of political military affairs in Iraq, is whether the state can control these forces. The assumption is also that that attack was related to the question of not just government formation, but who is the next president of Iraq and who is the next speaker of the parliament. But that is a sign, I think, of something that we said earlier, which is although Iraq is more stable than not, you have got localized issues and this big issue of the incorporation of these militias, very often allied to Iran, incorporation into the state under the control of the Prime Minister as Commander-in-Chief. I think the atmosphere in Iraq is one of, we can manage the politics, we can manage the geopolitics. There is going to be a bottleneck with these low oil prices, but we have plans underway to expand oil production. The big projects, the big infrastructure projects are moving ahead, although albeit slowly, and they need huge financing. I'm talking about the major port project down in Fao, the development road, which links that port through the center of Iraq to Turkey. So I think, bottom line, and I'll conclude now, is the next 4 years are likely to be more predictable and more stable. We are likely to have a prime minister that we can all, in the broadest sense of the term, do business with. The political parties that will be in charge are well known to us, as are the individuals who head them. And there are a growing number of effective technocrats who get things done below this political leadership, who I think will be given enough power to deliver growth and reconstruction in a way that benefits all of us who are present on the ground or are interested in getting into this market. So Ashley, I'll leave it at that. I am going to have to make a move about 22, so I'm around for 20 minutes. I may not be here for Q&A. So maybe if anybody's got any burning questions, I could take those before 2022.
Okay, thank you so much, John. You heard it first from John, fresh from Baghdad, always up to speed. Just to say that please put Q&As in the chat, for example, if you want to ask any questions that would be a good time to do it. But now we're moving on to Mr. Jamil Joker, who is the Chief Executive of SC Bank, Standard Chartered Bank. And Jamil, hello, I think you're here, and looking forward to hearing your sort of macro financial overview. Thank you very much.
So hello, everybody. Just a quick introduction. My name is Jamil. I'm the CEO for Standard Chartered Bank in Iraq, who is currently the only international global bank operating with an onshore branch in Iraq. So I've been asked to speak about the macroeconomic conditions in Iraq. In short, Iraq is one of the largest country in the Middle East in terms of geography, with 450,000 square kilometers. In terms of population, with I think the latest consensus would put the Iraq population at around 46 million, with a practically young, relatively young population. Iraq is currently the 5th largest oil producer on a global level, the second within OPEC, with around 4.5 million barrels per day of production. One of the largest in terms of export, with around 3.5 million barrels of export on a daily basis. Iraq GDP rank, I think, between 4th to 5th in the Middle East, with $260 billion in total GDP. Also, we've seen that during 2025, the GDP growth has been stagnant. The IMF initially projected a growth in GDP, then they revised this in April to a minus 0.5 decrease in GDP, and lately they revised this to a 0.5 increase in GDP for 2025. Iraq is Iraq economy is highly dependent on oil. Over around 90% of government revenues come from export of oil. There are two major vulnerability in Iraq. That would be the oil prices and the extremely high salary wages of the Iraqi government. I think that the Iraqi government pay around 8 million employees, which is quite high if you compare to, for example, the US with 2.5 million. Otherwise, the government for the last 3 years have declared massive infrastructure project, as John was saying. I suppose that the pace of these infrastructure project will slow down in 2026 and 2027 in view of the current oil prices and the expectation going forward. Nevertheless, what we have seen is a huge interest from the international in the IOCs in Iraq. We have a couple of mega projects that they signed with the government of Iraq for it, mainly Total in the south with a $27 billion contract to develop the oil and gas field in the south. BP with an 11 billion pound project in the north in the Kirkuk field. And other mainly Western IOCs are returning to Iraq, which gives an indicator. Practically, the Iraq fiscal, usually Iraq suffered from a budget deficit that is mainly financed by internal borrowing. On the currency side, we've had a very long period of stability. Iraq currency, the Iraqi dinar is pegged to the dollar, currently at 13.20, but for a very long period of time, we have the stability in the price of IQD versus dollars. Just to give a small indicator, the Central Bank of Iraq on a daily basis supply the market was approximately $250 million. This is in short. Happy to take a question whenever Ashley will allow this.
Thank you very much indeed, Jamil. That's a great overview. Just to say, we haven't got any questions currently in the Q&A or chat, but what we have put is an invitation to our Basra conference, Gateway to Iraq, which you can find the opportunity to register in the chat here. And just to say, this is on the 3rd and 4th of December, to which you are all invited. I'll mention this again at the end. But thank you so much, Jamil. Now we are going to go to Ahmed. No, we're not going. We're going to go to Dima Gay and Ayman Abu Daim, who's Chief Executive of NBI Bank. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everyone. And it's really a great pleasure to be with you today. My name is Ayman Abu Daim. I'm the CEO of National Bank of Iraq. And joining me, Dima Gay. She's the head of VIP and foreign companies. And I have actually a short presentation that I would like to share with you. Can you?
Yes, Ayman, we can see the screen.
Can you see the screen?
Ashley, do you see the screen, please?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I can see it. It's all good. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, National Bank of Iraq is the largest private bank in Iraq. We are part of Capital Bank of Jordan Group. We have 41 branches inside of Iraq, and we are the only bank that has a branch in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We also, other than banking, we do have several subsidiaries. We do provide brokerage services, leasing. We have a leasing company. We have an insurance company. We will be closing one of the important acquisition transactions next month by acquiring 51% of the second payment service provider in Iraq. Our size is $4.6 billion with the largest capital in the country of $400 billion US dollars. We, as I mentioned, we do cover most of Iraq. We have, as we speak, 41 branches, and we are planning to double this size of this number during the coming 2 years. I do agree with my colleagues about the potential of Iraq. If you look at the numbers, we have actually we had a size of $500 million. Now we have a size of around $5 billion US dollars. So we are 10 times what we had 8 years ago. This reflects the potential that is available in the Iraqi market. We are onboarding a number of 10 to 15,000 clients every month. The financial inclusion rate in Iraq is very low compared to the surrounding countries. So the banking sector is one of the sectors that has a large potential. As a bank, as I mentioned, we cover all of Iraq in terms of branches or ATMs. We have actually we celebrated last month of reaching a base of 500,000 clients. That was a very important milestone for National Bank of Iraq. Let me go to the direct point. Since we are talking about Turkish investments in Iraq, the remaining 2 slides cover the services that we provide to foreign investors, to local investors as well. We provide all types of corporate services, starting from trade finance, LCs, LGs, payroll payments. We have created what we call cash centers in Iraq. You know, Iraq is a cash-based economy, so we decided to have or to establish cash centers across Iraq to facilitate cash deposits for our clients. We have a dedicated international desk that is led by my colleague Dima. The staff is very equipped, very qualified. They speak multiple languages to support foreign companies who decide to enter into the Iraqi market. The account opening process is straightforward. We have a very clear list of requirements, and on this side we also help our potential investors who decide to enter into Iraq. We can link them to our external legal advisors, Evershed, who can help them in providing them with all support in order to enter into Iraq in a very safe and clean and clear way. We also do have a very strong network of correspondent banks. We have a relationship with Citibank, JP Morgan, and several correspondent banks across the world who help us in facilitating cross-border transactions and trade finance business. Actually, last month, since we are talking about the IBBC, last month we signed an agreement with Garantico in London, Ashley and the team, and John, with Garantico, who provided us with a $70 million guarantee limit to support Iraqi companies who want to lend from National Bank of Iraq. So we proudly say that we have an excellent and reputable network of correspondent banks. As my colleague Jamil mentioned, in Iraq, the trade finance business is very important. We are also the largest and the most active bank when it comes to trade finance business and cross-border transfers. We have the systems, the people, the knowledge to make the transfer as easy and as straightforward as possible. On the digital side, we have invested a lot on the digital channels. We have almost one of the best mobile application and business online provided to our retail and corporate clients. One of the most important points also is the relationship with the government and ministries inside of Iraq. We have an excellent relationship with different ministries and subsidiaries of ministries in Iraq, and we can support investors in linking them to any governmental entity inside of Iraq. This is from my side. Thank you so much for listening and ready to answer any question during the Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Dear Ayman, thank you so much. That's so comforting to know there's a bank that can handle people's business issues. If I could just ask, I mean, where do you find, obviously you've been growing, but where is the dynamics of the growth? What's the nature of the businesses that are the most bullish at the moment out of interest that you're finding?
Well, actually, we're witnessing growth in all aspects, on retail, on corporate. As I mentioned, we are witnessing double-digit growth in all business lines. We know, and the reason behind this is that we know the market very well. We are on the ground. We are all over the place. So the channels that we have in terms of branches, in terms of technology, in terms of people, actually, all of this has helped us in growing in the Iraqi market. We do have an excellent relationship with the business community, with the governmental entities. As I mentioned, back to the reason behind this growth is that when you look at Iraq from the macro level, if you compare number of branches to the population, it's one of the lowest in the region. If you look at the number of ATMs to the population, it's one of the lowest. If you look at the inclusion rate, it's one of the lowest in the region. So we believe that the potential is huge. Therefore, we have an expansion or a growth strategy in Iraq across all business lines.
Thank you. Well, there's a couple of questions here, which maybe Jamil could also say. How many banks have access to the US payment system, and what's the actual payment process? Maybe Jamil or Ayman could possibly answer that. Do many banks have access to the US payment system?
Jamil?
Sorry, you're muted, Jamil.
I think Ayman is better equipped to answer, but I think there are like 10 banks, 10 or 11 banks.
Actually, the banks that have access to US dollars are 6 banks, Jamil, 6 banks. Yes, unfortunately, most of Iraqi banks are not allowed to deal in dollars due to compliance reasons. The 6 banks are, they get the dollars from Central Bank of Iraq through their US banks, and they process the requests of their clients directly through either Citi or JP Morgan. And in the case of Standard Chartered, Jamil, if you want to ask from your side, what do you do?
So practically, initially, Ayman, I think there was 5 banks plus Standard Chartered. Okay, so but I think now there are more. I think that currently there are like 10 banks that have access to the international banks. Actually, they have correspondent banking through New York-based correspondent.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's another question here, which I'll just quickly before we move on to our next speaker. But Denise Rond asks whether National Bank provides terms of letters of credit where the beneficiary is a private company to Iraqi government or Ministry of Institutions. Do you provide letters of credit?
Yes, we do provide credit to our corporate clients, and if the corporate client has a contract with any governmental entity, we also provide credit against the LC or the contract that is signed with the Iraqi government.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'd like to move on now to Ahmed Afdari, who is at Management Partners. He's going to give us a rather good business analysis and overview of the different sectors in Iraq, and also possibly with particular reference to Turkish company insights. And also, if I could also ask Ahmed, there's a question here that asks, how are the infrastructure contracts in Iraq, how are they generally governed? Is it subject to foreign law or local Iraqi law? So just to leave that with you, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley, and hello, everyone. As a matter of introduction, my name is Ahmed Al-Haidari. I'm a partner with Management Partners, a management consulting firm based out of Bahrain, Manama, with offices in the region, and we have been operating in Baghdad since 2010, working primarily in strategy development and execution, economic development, business and technology transformation, where we have worked particularly in Baghdad, working with the government on sectorial reforms, policy development, sectorial strategies, modernization of state-owned enterprises. And we have worked a lot with foreign investors setting up their businesses in Iraq or finding opportunities. If you allow me to do a quick presentation, and then Ashley, during the presentation, I might touch upon the question you asked, is one of the challenges that to be at the end of the speaker list, especially with wonderful presentations, is it's a challenge to add more. But what I want to do is I want to connect the dots from Iraq's macro outlook to the bankable opportunities where Turkish businesses and others can turn into deals. Okay, so quickly speaking about Iraq's macro, so Iraq is moving from post-conflict stabilization to an infrastructure and energy-led expansion. The opportunity, as the speakers have mentioned, is powered by a 46 million young urbanizing market in a strategic corridor between the Gulf and Turkey, plus reforms in banking, e-government, law, and the return of major IOCs. All of this is powering the shift. Now, the macro pictures also support it. So GDP is growing and is expected to grow at 44% through the decade. It's a steady population gains is translating into durable demand for power, for water, for housing, logistics, and consumer goods. Yet, challenges do exist. So the oil dependency, the bureaucratic friction, and infrastructure gaps, these things are there, but they're getting better. The focus is on getting projects done now in Iraq. So on the ground, the momentum is very visible. There is a $27 billion energy package for capturing gas and adding solar. The development road tying the Grand Fao port that links Basra to Turkey and Europe, and nationwide housing pushing through 2030, rail modernization to move freight, and regional power and gas interconnection to stabilize supply. With that, as Turkey-Iraq trade accelerates, our goal now is to turn that momentum into awards. So for Turkish businesses specifically, and others in general, there are few elements to consider. So you can win by pairing premium brands. This is something we always advise our clients to do. Is, for example, you can combine UK brand prestige with Turkish excellency in delivery to raise buyer confidence without raising the cost. 2, be tender ready. So register with Ministry of Trade, secure the investment license via NIC, one-stop shop, and build proposals exactly to Ministry of Planning standards requirements. And that's very critical if you want to enter in any of these infrastructure projects that are being tendered out there. They're all being governed by Iraqi law, and they follow primarily Ministry of Planning standards. 3, partner locally with highly classified Iraqi contractors. There is a classification system in Iraq for contractors. Choose those who are highly ranked in order to be eligible and lift your technical score. Use G2G channels, government-to-government channels, such as DEEC, the Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey, TIM and TMB, the Turkish Contractor Association and the Turkish Exporter Assembly, to reach decision makers and unblock issues. Bring finance. Securing Turkish banks' structured trade finance solution for project in Iraq is a plus point for any business wants to enter Iraq. Lead with the confirmed LCs through Turkish banks, wrapped with Turk Exim Bank guarantees and insurance. You can even add additional ECA support whenever you have a foreign partner in the mix. Currently, there are 4 anchor collaborations that are taking shape that Turkey and Iraq are working on. The Kirkuk-Sihan pipeline, this has been restarted and it brings work through upgrades and services. The Oil for Water program, which channels oil-backed finance into water harvesting dams and land reclamation projects. The 600 megawatt power interconnection that opens the grid, opens all the work in EPC and O&M in the grid, and the Ovaki Fesh Khabur TIR corridor that creates dry port operations, logistics, and real estate. Now, Iraq is promoting, roughly speaking, around $450 billion worth of opportunities across 12 sectors. And they're providing attractive incentives. So you get 100% foreign ownership, up to 10 years tax holidays, customs exemptions, and you get the single window licensing procedures with land options that makes every project executable. The opportunity map is anchored on energy and transport, but around them grows housing, manufacturing, food and agriculture, healthcare, education, digital services, water and waste, and free zones. There's a huge list here in the next 2 slides, which I will leave it with you. But for Turkish firms, the near-term plays include infrastructure and logistics, especially linked to the development road and the Grand File, that drives civil works, rail system, material warehousing, 3PL, and so on. You have the power and grid, whether it is steam, solar, wind, and the 400 kilovolt link that needs equipment, EPC delivery, and long-term operation. The housing, where the big demand pulls cements, prefabricated units, building systems, and finishing. You have the manufacturing and free zone, and that is a good incentive and location for import, substitution, and re-export platforms for chemical, fertilizer, food processing, and light industry.
Ahmed, hello,
I'll stop
Ahmed.
here.
Yeah, just to say, I think your presentation stalled a little bit. Maybe you could just flick it through quietly. It seems to have stalled on the first page.
Oh. Let me know if you can actually see the next page.
It's not moving. We've got Iraq shifting from post-conflict stabilization at the moment.
Oh, that is actually a setback. So
sorry about that.
Allow me.
What might be an idea is if you could post this in the chat so people can maybe download it as well. So, Ahmed, is that the end of the presentation, or did you want to conclude with anything? Hello, Ahmed, are you there? Okay, we might have lost him. What we'll do is possibly, and thank you for putting all the questions in the chat here. I'm hoping that Jamil and possibly Ayman can, I think, respond to some of those more detailed questions about what banks provide, credit bureaus in Iraq, and infrastructures, etc. So hopefully some of the answers might be in there. Thank you very much. Okay, Ahmed, I think we've lost you. So I'm going to move on to David Tanuji, who runs MSelect and has been issuing wonderful reports every 6 months on the workforce and situation, the demands for recruitment and skills in Iraq. So David, looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and thank you so much for having me in this webinar today. To introduce myself, my name is David. I'm the operations manager at MSelect. Who are we? MSelect is the leading staffing agency in the region. We have been operating for more than 14 years, starting from Iraq, expanding to other GCC and Levant countries. Our services are related to EOR, which is employer of record, contracting, manpower outsourcing, direct hire, headhunting, and of course, learning and development. Today, I have like a brief presentation where I will go through the, everyone was speaking about the opportunity, and the opportunity is always in Iraq. But with this opportunity, there will always be challenges related to compliance, manpower, and operational. Today, I'm going to highlight the opportunity and how can you bypass these challenges to make sure that you have efficient operation on the ground. Of course, the concentration will be around the staffing, which is the MSelect sector. Starting with the opportunities and realities, as we all know, Iraq offers a major opportunity in energy, infrastructure, services, oil and gas, and many other sectors. And of course, this is being companioned with a young and capable workforce who are eager to work and be in part of this development. But this comes with some of the, let's call them challenges that can be bypassed related to the regulations, the culture, and the operation. From our own experience, which is over a decade now, the key challenges to entering a new market like Iraq will be: the first one is the navigating the licenses and compliance requirement. Of course, here I will draw it under the attention of the labor law. So hiring can be very tricky in Iraq, and especially following regulations for 2 regions. So before entering any business in Iraq or starting any business in Iraq, you always need to make sure that you have a reliable partner on the ground to make sure you are following the compliance that is required by the government, which is also can be changing every now and then. So you always need an eye on the government regulations and make sure all of the licenses and compliance you have in place. The second one, when it comes to hiring, as most of you know, localization is essential in Iraq, and currently it's at 80% locals, 20% expats. Always make sure to maintain this localization split. And of course, the logistics and the operational setup, which means office, renting, operational, transportation, mobility, and immigration. To sum up one solution for all of these, always enter the Iraqi market with a partner locally. This will give you a more strong and more sustainable operation, more strong and more sustainable presence, and of course, more strong connections that is always needed when it comes to operating in Iraq. For the companies who are planning to enter Iraq newly, the main points that need to be focused on are: understand the regulations as early as possible when it comes to the registration, when it comes to hiring people, when it comes to the labor law, when it comes to the pros and cons of your daily operation. Not knowing that can be a massive trip that new companies could fall in easily, and this will lead even to losing the business and shutting down the operations. Again, this is something coming from an experience where we partnered with hundreds of companies entering Iraq, and most of these companies entered Iraq under the MSelect umbrella, not as a partner, as a reliable, let's say, local consultant who supported them through the process until they reach the point that they are fully operational. The second one, which me personally, I think is one of the most strongest points that needs to be considered, is build a reliable local network. As any other Middle Eastern country, relationships on the ground are the key to operate properly. So this relationship needs always to be maintained on the area where you operate. When I speak about relations, I'm talking about other stakeholders that could be related indirectly or directly to your operations. So it could be government, local tribes, and also other companies who operate to support or even to compete your business. Third point to be highlighted is to invest in the workforce strategy. Always make sure that you are blending local talents with experienced expats, because the compliance, the first point, always needs to be maintained. And the second one is it's more acceptable in the local Iraqi market and it's more preferable that you have a local Iraqi team who can run the business for you. You will need maybe some people from abroad to run the business since you are entering as a company who operates in other countries, but you will always need the local content to support your operation, to understand the country, to understand the culture, because the culture could be a massive challenge in some areas in Iraq. Fourth point is to plan your operations realistically. When I say realistically, it's not only on numbers. It never works in Iraq on numbers on papers and reading articles. You need to be on the ground. You need to understand how it works. You need to know how the logistics, the accommodation, the support, the transportation, even the security would be happening. This won't happen before you accessing the country and do the feasibility study properly. Last point, which is also very much common in the Middle East, you need to stay adaptable and flexible. As I wrote in here, flexibility is essential in Iraq business environment. Why? Because the changes that you will get every now and then within the regulations, the challenges that you always see between I would call it two governments running the country, north of Iraq, which is the Kurdistan region, south of Iraq, federal Iraq. Registering in Iraq, you need two entities. To follow the compliance for these two entities, you need to follow the regulations for these two governments. These two governments always change regulations, and sometimes these regulations can interfere with each other. You will always need to be flexible to bypass the challenges that could stop your operation. Make your SOPs flexible, make your operations flexible to make sure you are adapting to how the country is running the business. The last part is how can we help as MSelect? After 14 years of the on-the-ground experience and supporting local international clients, we understood very well the country and how it works. Coming from being a local Iraqi company, we bypassed these challenges. We made our partners bypass these challenges based on our knowledge. We can always support with any advices that you need on the compliance, on the workforce management, and also on your operational setup. And of course, through our sector that we are experts in, we can support you guys in recruitment, outsourcing, facility management, and all of the region. The approach that we always follow, and we have been following since we started, you need to partner, guide, and we simplify the process, allowing our clients to access the country and focus on their core business other than following the headache, which is around the core business that can delay. We've helped many organizations, of course, to establish in Iraq, and we are also eager and very much happy to support if you need anything. Other than this quick presentation, I also want to highlight that MSelect on a yearly basis publish something we call the Iraq Employment Outlook Report. The Outlook Report is covering the trend of the employment. What are the sectors hiring? What sectors are the lowest in hiring? What are the highest demanded expertise? What are the challenges in paying salaries? Are companies paying bonuses or not? Are they doing any learning and development or not? This can be found on our website. I'm going to post now in the chat, if you guys allow me, the latest MSelect Employment Outlook report that we published for 2025. And at the end of this page, you can find the 24, 23, 22. And also on our website, we published another article comparing what happened from 22 to 25. All of these can be found in our blogs and our articles on our website. So guys, please, this is the link. Feel free to visit. download the the MSelect Employment Outlook report to know what is the employment trend, what are the needed skills, and what are the sectors that they are hiring. This could be a great indicator to show also, what are the sectors succeeding in the market, because if they are hiring, then the business is booming. Ashley, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. And if anyone have any questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you so much.
David, thank you so much. And I'd really appreciate all of the speakers having kept to timing. So we're bang on 1 o'clock. However, if anyone would like to answer questions, please raise your hand and we'll try and include you. We're also answering questions in the chat as well. From our point of view at IBBC, we have a very big conference on the 3rd and 4th of December, to which you are invited. Registration is slightly qualified, but actually free for those that get through. We have some more spaces. In the chat, we have the links. You can find it also on our website, along with David's report as well. So our website, iraqbritainbusiness.org, has a lot of information about all our members and us in general. So that's great news. I've also popped in the chat the tech forum, which you can log on to on the 3rd, and it's all online, and I have lots of exciting conversations about AI, its impact and capital, and the implications for it. So you might find that of interest. That's at 4 o'clock in Basra, online through IBBC, for which you can register. I just want to say, would anybody like to ask any further questions? I note there's one in here about what's the future, IBBC's future vision for encouraging more projects for the young generation to take place in Iraq. Firstly, just to say that we're generally set up for corporate membership. However, we do have a young entrepreneurs group, we have a women's group, we have an online site that's quite engaged with a range of different ages, but more importantly, we have an increasingly large education sector, which deals with schools, higher education, skills training. And on the 3rd, we've got a whole day dedicated to education. And that is how the UK universities who are members integrate and interact with Iraq. And also we help advise the government through Professor Al-Uzri, who runs this. So we have a lot of engagement with skills, education and training through IBBC. And we're obviously keen to support entrepreneurs where possible. And through my tech forum in particular, we support them. We have a woman called from She Codes, for example, talking about how to code and teach Iraqi women to do software coding. So there's a lot of things going on. I think, thank you. And I've got Chris here. I think you'd like to say something, Chris. Look forward to hearing from you. And thank you very much indeed for organising this for us.
I'd just like to make a comment, particularly for your Basra conference. I mean, I would suggest that you have some panelists there who are actually doing business already in Iraq, you know, companies that have already gone through the experience. I mean, I went through this experience back in 2005, and it took some time because there were lots of other dynamics in play at that particular time. And we eventually set up in Erbil. But as I say, companies like Coca-Cola are now pretty well established in Iraq. Turkish companies that have already made investments in Iraq. I mean, to get their experience of how they've managed to navigate their way, I think would be useful. I think it would be useful to get some, and we can, supply contacts of Turkish companies that are currently operational in Iraq, and I think that would, add a bit more local knowledge to, just what the environment is like.
That would be very helpful, Chris. And we have ENCA as a member already. So we have we're skirting with Turkish companies. So maybe we could do another follow-up one after the conference or in the new year or something. That'd be great.
Yeah, happy to talk to you later anyway. So
okay. So I'm going to draw a close. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Robin from Pilgrims, to Jon Wilks, to Jamil Joker of SC, to Dima and Ayman of NBI, of Ahmed of Management Partners, and David from MSelect. And particularly also to Chris and his team at the British Chambers of Commerce Turkey. So hopefully we'll see some of you in Basra. If not, stay with us, and we'll be doing regular webinars. We'll be in touch with everybody, and wish you all well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.